Welcome to the Experian Curated Couch here at CES 2026. I am your host, Allie Mack, and today we are going to be discussing Beyond Impressions, identity-driven TV that actually performs. I'll let my panelists introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Carmela Fournier, and I lead data and measurement strategy at Comcast Advertising.
Hi, friends. My name is Mike Brooks. I was most recently Global Head of Business Development and Partnerships at LG Ad Solutions.
And I'm Joe Quaglia. I lead revenue at Madhive.
All right, let's start by defining the playing field. When we say converged identity-driven TV, what does that mean in practice and what does it not mean?
So for us, a converged TV really starts with the household and having a unified view of a consumer, whether they are watching TV, however they're watching TV. So it could be addressable, it could be streaming, or it could be linear TV, but for us, it's a converged view of that household.
Yeah, I think at its most basic, it's about the viewing experience being one thing, even though behind the scenes there's a lot going on. So the question is, how can we look at measurement and identity as a single thing there? That's a huge opportunity.
And for Madhive, our strategy is to work with thousands and thousands of local advertisers. As you can imagine, their definition to that question is super different depending on what the goals of the client are, the size, the budget, sophistication. It can vary dramatically, but it depends on the goal of the advertiser and then making sure that the audience that they are accessing serves the goal they're trying to achieve.
Yeah, so for you, when a buyer asks for one plan across TV, what do they usually misunderstand about that ask?
They're usually having trouble communicating in an apples to apples way. They're going off of some data or maybe a mandate from their boss about what they need to achieve. And they're just sort of missing the mark oftentimes. And so educating clients about more data being available so that they can make smarter decisions with their budget and their campaigns and the campaign budgets will go further is what we see our goal as working with these smaller clients.
Are they doing a good job balancing linear and streaming today? Like your smaller clients, or how are they looking at that?
I'd say no. I mean, obviously they're the floodgates are opening with CTV and clients are just starting to get enough data to be dangerous. Okay. But I'd say there's definitely opportunity to be had for them to use that data in more sophisticated ways to make better decisions. We're still in the early innings, I would say.
Yeah, from our perspective, we see it as converged TV in the way that we plan as well. So when we work with our partners, we want to understand who that high valued audience is for them. And then we use our identity spine in conjunction with Experian by matching it to our households to be able to reach them wherever they're watching. So it's one by one plan across all endpoints.
So what's the simplest way to explain cross-platform measurement without turning it into a science lecture?
Yeah, I'll go back to it's really one screen, and how can we get measurement and identity and targeting to speak the same language regardless of what you're watching, no matter what's happening behind the scenes. That's what I would say.
The key is to have that thread of identity that runs all the way from activation to planning to optimization to measurement, full funnel and conversion measurement. So otherwise, you have a lot of data hops and you have a lot of signal loss in that process.
So let's dive deeper into the identity foundation that we're discussing. TV is often household-based, while streaming and digital can be person or device-based. What's the right identity unit for performance TV, and where do teams break down on this?
Digital advertising historically is the click on the same screen, the conversion happening on the same screen, and now increasingly we're looking at an omni-channel media experience for every consumer out there. And so whether you're a local advertiser or you're a big national advertiser, consumers are interacting with your brand across many different screens. And so while they may be exposed and they may be most impacted by a TV ad, they might not execute on their conversion. They might do that on their mobile device or their desktop. And so how do we stitch those things together and understand who that consumer is? We need to use device graph technology. We need to make sure that we have ubiquitous apples to apples data available across those different screens in order to make the most accurate decision.
So one of the things I've been thinking about is when we get to something like app performance marketing, that's a very heavy user-based system, trying to buy into a world of TV and the household world. So I look at that world as kind of the purest type of TV performance, and I wonder if that could ever really be measured at the household level, because the purchases happen at the device level, the engagement happens at the consumer level. So I think there's how you plan and how you target can be household or identity or user level, but can something as specific as like the app download market, et cetera, can that exist on a household model? I don't know.
So you can plan against whatever ID is most convenient, but the key is to tie it back to deterministic sources and stable deterministic sources. The household identifier is the most stable. So in order to overcome signal loss happens as identifiers change in the ecosystem. So the stability of a household address, everyone hopefully that lives somewhere, and so tying it back to that household address and then moving away from probabilistic sources to overcome signal loss is a key aspect.
Are there enough deterministic sources out there to fully float the industry?
I absolutely think so.
You do?
And you want to work with partners who have deterministic data, right? So that you can anchor that view of the consumer, whether it's a device-based view or a user-based view or a household-based view.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's an interesting debate. There's plenty of identity, probabilistically generated identity solutions out there in the market today. Drives a lot of decision making in ad tech. I don't see that going away anytime soon, but deterministic data is the holy grail, absolutely, when it comes to both targeting the right audience as well as tying back to performance or outcomes. I'd also say that one challenge we have is actually getting clients to use their first party data to make decisions. Oftentimes, we're still making decisions based on context or based on maybe a probabilistic model. And so how do we make sure that first party data is readily available to clients and then that is being used to make the right decisions? I think that's critical.
Is that from a targeting perspective, you're thinking?
Targeting, absolutely, yeah.
Cool.
I think the data is there, the evidence is there that says that those probabilistic sources are unreliable. IP address, unreliable as an identifier to be used for measurement or for conversion. Not particularly accurate for targeting as well. Hashed email address, not particularly reliable.
Yeah.
There's been truth set studies that showed that half the time or less than half the time, the IP address to the household
I was going to ask how often is that right?
The email address to the household is inaccurate. And
Mm.
so if you think about 9 email addresses per household, 7 IP addresses per household, you're going to be wrong more than you're right. And so the key is really to create that view that's tying back to that stable household signal in order to better plan, better activate, target, and measure.
Yeah, I think this is kind of the crux of maybe the panel here, because what we're seeing on the local side, a lot of these buyers are in the habit of just buying TV like they've always bought it, and that the kind of cliche of it is advertising in the Super Bowl or advertising on your local news program or whatever. And you just want your ad because you think your audience is there and you think that's going to drive performance. But now we have this deterministic data, in many cases available first-party data. We have a lot more sophisticated ways to measure KPIs. How do you get clients to use that data more to make better decisions?
Do you think the tooling is there for folks to deploy first party? Because I would say when I was at LG, Experian was a big partner in that with from an onboarding perspective, but that was a lot of Fortune 100 kind of clients.
Yeah.
When you're working with local, how do you tool?
There's a lot more there than is being used, I would say. Yeah,
Okay.
So it's not perfect. And again, clients have different definitions of success, different ways they're measuring, different levels of sophistication. But on the whole, I'd say we have a big opportunity to educate the market more.
And what changes when you move from age and gender GRPs to audience-based planning for your clients?
You get a lot smarter. I think on the targeting side, your options open up extraordinarily. On the measurement side, you get to move closer to the point of sale or whatever's driving revenue. So when I was at LG, I think it's close to 100% of campaigns had at least 2 types of measurement.
Oh.
So it was indexing something like reach and frequency or brand lift against something else that might be more endemic. I think when you move away from GRPs, it opens up this opportunity of what could targeting and measurement look like. And then, a little bit tongue in cheek, it also means you're getting the same thing for spending 30% less money. So that's, the upside.
Absolutely.
Good point.
And so we know where the end goal is, but we know also that clients are in varying degrees on that journey, especially in local television. What is one of the first KPIs that you would recommend a client focus on to make this change?
I think they need to move away from just measuring reach and awareness and move more towards impression-based audience measurement. And so the key to do that is to tie it back to a identity spine that can bring that view together from the planning side to the measurement side and optimization. And so it's moving away from just that top of funnel, age, gender type of view, and moving to be able to actually reach the consumers that you want to reach, your marketer defined audience, your advanced audience definition. And then from there, you can actually look at incremental reach. And so you can say, all right, I hit these folks on this platform. Now let me go find this audience, the light TV viewers or the low frequency exposures in a different platform. So you can optimize that spend. Maybe not even like less budget, but you can optimize that existing budget to reach more consumers and to drive the outcomes that a marketer.
Yeah. Or more, but even more budget, and then even more outcomes.
Coming
That's
from the
what we
sell
want.
side, we want more budget.
That's what we want.
I mean, all these decisions, whether it's frequency, whether it's budget size, in a perfect world, they're not arbitrary decisions. It's not like, hey, I just want to, only spend $30,000. That's my budget, or I only want to touch consumers 3 times because that's what I think will work. You should be looking at the data constantly, and if the case is there that the campaign or the media partner or the audience segment is outperforming, make the case for more budget and increasing that strategy. I think it's important. Evaluating the data that we have available and making decisions more on the fly. Other obvious elephant in the room is AI helping to make these decisions, and so sort of making that feedback loop tighter is something we're already seeing play out in the industry.
So what does activation actually look like in practice? If a brand wants to follow a household from live sports to streaming dramas without paying 3 times, what does the workflow look like across these partners? And how does frequency capping play?
So you have to work with partners that have a common, stable identity base. And so therefore, then you can understand a household who's watching the Olympics, the downhill skiing event in Cortina in February, as they move from that live sporting event to below deck and watching their favorite dramas on television. And so it's really key to be able to optimize against that and a single source of identity to be able to move with the viewers as they move from the live sporting event to the drama.
What's the most common point of friction when executing across TV environments?
I'd say disparate measurement, folks not speaking in an apples to apples way, not understanding what drives true performance. We've talked a lot about different things that we get asked as generally call us suppliers of media and technology for advertisers. But how do we distill those things down to a simpler way to speak to each other about performance and then point our clients consultatively in the right direction about what data is helping them make decisions? That's kind of the hardest part. Walking into a room, one playbook that you have for one client's not necessarily going to work the same way for another. So just kind of trying to simplify that, I think would give advertisers more confidence to spend more money in digital.
And I'd add to that, like a level playing field from a measurement perspective, like everyone's being evaluated against different metrics.
Yeah.
Some folks are using currency, age, gender, some folks are using attribution, some folks are using just reached impressions. And so the challenge is that in order to have a common sense of value across endpoints, you need to have a common metric that you are using across all endpoints, and then tying that to a common identifier that you can look at from endpoint to endpoint.
Is there one metric to rule them all, or is it campaign or advertiser based?
So one of the things that, if I didn't mention this already, at LG we had 31 different types of measurement partners underneath 13 subcategories of measurement. So when you're able to get further down the road beyond reach and frequency, and you can apply some type of measurement specific to endemic to what you do, like autos, pharma, there's a long list of ways that you can engage in that world. I think there's a lot behind that.
It's a great question. I mean, the historical way of doing this is, the Nielsen-based GRP. I think we're all on board with moving beyond that. But look, maybe it's a bit pie in the sky. Like, not everyone is going to get access to Comcast first-party data in order to report on that. Only, obviously, a small segment or large segment of the industry is going to have that information. But if you're advertising on Paramount, you're not going to have that same exact profile of a user. So it's a balance, I think, but between consistency as well as like the data available in certain environments to make the right decisions.
Also working with measurement partners that can look at incrementality, right? To understand sort of what how each platform is valued, and showing how each platform, the incremental value that it offers to an advertiser.
And with so many different measurement partners out in the space, how is these different currencies changing the way that advertisers are buying and planning?
What's happening in the currency wars? Like, is it still happening? Like 2 years ago when I started.
That was the hot take, yeah.
When I started at LG 2 years ago, it was, I was at that panel where it was all four CEOs of the measurement companies fighting over what's going to be the currency at the end of the day. And, I don't even know how much those companies that were on stage with Nielsen even care about fighting that fight anymore. Like, are they moved past GRPs to outcomes? Or are GRPs such a big business it's worth disrupting anyways? It was just something that in the beginning 2 years ago I heard a lot about. You guys are probably closer to it than I am. What's happening there?
We're at CES now. I've already had a couple conversations about this, and I know there's investment going in the industry. But look, I come from the measurement space myself, having worked at IAS for years, and we were very much, talking about this 10 years ago. Like, we need a better way to measure and better way to, measure performance on TV. But there's still a lot of opportunity to unpack there. It needs to come down to true outcomes and true performance for advertisers. It can't be just contextual. It can't be just high level. It's really got to get closer to that outcome-based measurement than historically we've done.
In order to do that, you need to move away from adults 25 to 54 and make it a persons-based view of things, 2+, so that can open up more advanced audiences, have more cross-platform measurement, and also move to be able to have more attribution metrics as a way to really value what a marketer wants. They don't really, audiences by proxy worked for a long time, and it's super efficient. However, as the world goes to more performance-based measurement, you need to be able to adjust and transition to that world as well, and removing that barrier that says all linear impressions need to be 25 to 54, and that's the baseline age gender metric is kind of keeping those TV dollars at bay when they really could be used for more performance marketing or full funnel measurement.
Yeah.
Great point.
Yeah. It's about speaking that CFO language too. That's going to unlock a lot of budgets in the performance world.
Right. And we talk about performance TV. Do we need to define performance the same? Is it okay to have multiple currencies? Does that just complicate negotiations and the way that we view success? Do you think we all need to agree?
I mean, currency, the definition of it is really just the metric that you are closing a deal by.
Yeah.
Right. And so it doesn't mean it, traditionally that has been age gender.
Right.
In the future and currently, there's a big move to more performance-based metrics. And so currency is going to mean whatever the customer wants going forward.
It could be purchases.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
What are they trying to achieve with those marketing dollars, with their media spend, and how do you measure that? And they're going to define that, and we have to, as an industry, we need to be able to support that. And the move away from age gender, moving more towards performance metrics, really is necessary to drive. Really requires you to have a common identity spine so that you can have audience-based buys, meet those, reach those advanced audiences, and then be able to measure the outcomes that a consumer wants.
Mm-hmm.
We're coming to a close with our time. Thank you guys so much for this very high energy conversation. I will end with one question that I want each of you guys to answer. If you could use a magic wand to fix one bottleneck in converged TV, identity, frequency, measurement, you name it, what would it be and why?
So I have a little bit off the wall answer to start because it's a little bit outside of the frame we've been discussing.
Sure.
But one of the things that I think is still wildly broken is discovery. So when I was at LG, we were talking about a stat from Nielsen, I think it was 11 minutes and 42 seconds between the time someone turned on their TV and saw their first piece of content. And we thought, yeah, that's an opportunity to monetize, and that's true.
Yeah.
But that's also an asymmetry in getting people to the content that they want. So when I think about what's going to make TV come together the most, and what's one of the things that's like artificially separating TV right now, I think discovery is one of the things that's like at the high level a little bit broken.
That's a very interesting take.
I would say giving local advertisers confidence in the data and tools available to them to make better decisions. There's a lot of data and information, as I said before, that can be utilized that's not being utilized today. I think a lot of local advertisers are sticking to their guns the way they've done things for a long time. The opportunity really is an education one. Of course, as a media platform, our job is to drive performance, but I kind of look at my job as more consultative with our clients and how do you help them understand the tools and data available to them. It's a big education project, and so that'd be my answer.
Yeah, and to emphasize that point, everything we've talked about today is really underpinned by identity. And signal loss is a massive problem in order for us as an industry to realize the potential of an audience-based world and a data-enabled environment. If I had my magic wand with two hands, if I had my two magic wands, why not? It would be to be able to have greater interoperability across the industry in order to overcome signal loss. Because then you could have a unified view of audiences, planning, optimization, frequency capping, and measurement. And that would be, nirvana, if you will, from a data perspective. But we'll get there eventually, but that would be the thing that I think is needed, is more interoperability to overcome signal loss.
Awesome, good answer. Thanks, you guys.
Great.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.